crowd. Huh?
Are we ready? When you're ready? Okay. Miss you. You ready?
I would assume, see all the 8th grade teachers are there.
Is it like
The electives, it looks like they're elective part.
All right, if you can hear my voice, clap once. Hear my voice, clap 3 times. All right, thank you all, especially to teachers, for giving up some of your time today. Thank you, students, for being here. My name is Alison Edwards. I was a 7th grade social studies teacher here last year, and I am so grateful to be back with you all today. I've subbed in some of the Pioneers classrooms, but I am excited to be here today because I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Chuck Manning Sr., who's going to speak to you today. He is a Durham native, grew up in Durham, went to Durham Public Schools, and he is now working for Durham's innovation team. And their last project that they have been working on is how to get people who were formerly incarcerated re-entering into society, getting jobs, so that they don't go back into jail. And the next project they're going to be working on is gun violence and how to reduce that in Durham. We asked Mr. Manning to come here today because he's got a pretty great story. Well, a tough story, but I think with a good ending that's still going. But he's here to talk to us today kind of about choices and challenges that have happened in his life. And we thought it was a perfect blend to work with your story, the story of Wes Moore, because as you know, Wes Moore had to make a lot of choices in his life, and there were 2 Wes Moores, right? There were 2 Wes Moores, one that his path went kind of in a forward direction, and one that kind of got stopped. And so I think you'll be able to see some similarities with Mr. Manning's story as he tells you today. He's going to tell us a little bit about his journey, and then hopefully we'll have a little time for questions at the end. So without further ado, here is Mr. Manning.
Thank you. Good morning, Rogers-Herr. Good morning. Like Ms. Edwards said, my name is Chuck Manning Sr. I'm a Durham native. I was born and raised here in Durham. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. Born and raised in Daymar Court projects. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that side of town. And today I'm coming here to talk to you all about the difficulties of incarceration post and pre. And I'm also here to talk to you about challenges and choices. But before we get into all that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about myself, tell you a little bit about my story. Like I said, I grew up in Daymar Court projects, stayed there until I was around 9 years old, and then we moved to a place called Kerwood over in northern Durham. Throughout school, I was a pretty good kid. I made decent grades, I made pretty good grades, but I would always finish my work rather early. And that would leave me to becoming the class clown and getting everybody else off of task. So I would joke around and play around in class. And that led me to getting detention and ISS and a whole lot of other stuff. But finally, the teacher, they were like, we can't do anything with him. We think that he's ADHD. We think that he has some type of mental issue. So they sent me to Duke over on the campus. They sent me to the children's clinic. And when I went there, they said that, yeah, he's definitely ADHD. He's hyper. He doesn't know how to sit still. You know, he needs medication. So back then, this is the early 90s, they had this medication called Ritalin, which was a very strong medication. And they would give me this medication, and I would come into class, and I remember I would just sleep all day and wouldn't hardly do any work. But they would pass me. They would still pass me, I guess because I wasn't being disruptive. But kept on through school. I was going to county school then. Back then we had county and city school, and I wanted to get away from the county schools because they wanted to keep me medicated. So after middle school, I went to Durham High, and that's when I was introduced to the inner city kids, the lifestyle, the running the streets, the doing things that just weren't productive for my life. In doing so, at the age of 17, I caught a charge, possession of a stolen motorcycle. Some guys in my neighborhood, they had a motorcycle, and I just wanted to ride. And I got on it, and I wound up wrecking it, and I went to jail, and that has followed me for the rest of my life. It still follows me now. Once I got out of high school, well, actually I dropped out, hustling, doing various things to bring about income. I got incarcerated again. This time I went to prison. This was my first time ever going to prison, and it was a shock. Here I am, a little kid, 19 years old, and I'm on the yard with grown men, the age that I am now. And it was hard to adapt. It was hard to really come out of that funk. So I just stayed to myself, did my time, found a little support group that was in there. And when I came home, I wanted to do something different. But the catch was I had probation. And with that probation, I had restitution of $6,000 at 19 years old for a motorcycle that wasn't mine. So until I paid that $6,000, I was on probation. So I stayed on probation for about 6 years. And I still wasn't able to pay it all the way off. I had a probation officer who was, hell-bent at me just going and doing it, finishing up the time, and don't worry about the restitution when you come home, everything will be fine. But what he didn't understand is that I just had a son, and I didn't want to leave him. I wanted to teach him different than what I had been through. I wanted to guide him and be a father because I grew up, 4 boys with no dad. And so he wound up violating me for something very petty. He tried to take me to a scared straight scenario up at Central Prison, and words got exchanged between me and the prisoner that was there, and he wound up violating me. So I had to leave my son at 1 year old and go back to prison. And when I did that, it really hurt. When I was out, I had tried to change. I had a job at the time at John Umstead. I was a healthcare technician working on the adolescent unit. I had some positive things going on, and for him to want me to just go back to prison just to take me off of his caseload and not have to pay the restitution, really, it devastated me. And on top of that, I was married. I married rather young at 19 because I said, I'm not going to be like my father. I'm going to take care of my responsibility. But all of that changed. While I was in prison, I remember being very depressed that last time, and just not really having any faith because I said I've tried to do it the right way. It seems like everybody just wants me to, continue down the path that I've already been on. So when I came home after that bid, I just went head first in the streets, and I just I was banging, I was selling drugs, I was just wilding out, just doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. All the way up until this last time. I had caught a charge for something that I didn't do, first and foremost, but it was a very, very, very traumatic charge. And needless to say, I was facing 318 months in prison. That's 26 and a half years at the age of 34. My son was 14 at the time. And let me back up a little bit. Like I said, I always tried to teach my son to do better than me. You know, he got to witness me out there, you know, in the streets and doing different things. But I always told him that it's another path, you know, bank on your brain. You got $1 billion between those two ears, and I'm telling all of y'all that too. You know, you just got to figure out how to get it out. You know, the streets aren't the answer. Running that lifestyle isn't the answer. There's only 3 places you can make it to when going that route, and that's jails, institution, or death. One of the 3. Just sitting here now looking at you all and thinking about a lot of the, you know, friends that I had in middle school. A lot of them aren't living anymore. A lot of them are in prison. And some of them are in a mental institution. So, like I said, I would tell my son, you know, bank on your brain. Don't get involved in the streets. You know, I know you're athletic. I was athletic, but always bank on your brain. And needless to say, he took my advice and he listened. He saw the trials and the tribulations that I had to go through from living that lifestyle firsthand. So I think, and I always told him this, it's one thing to be smart. It's another thing to be wise. Wise is learning from somebody else's mistakes. Smart is thinking that you can commit those same mistakes and get away with it the way that you think that you can get away with them. But it's not about being smart. It's about being wise. And that's one thing that I can say. He was wise, and he banked on his brain, and now he's reaping the benefits. He has a full ride scholarship, academic and football at NCCU. He's a freshman this year, and he's starting. And it was all from him just taking the simple advice that I gave him. But back to the story at hand, when I came home, I got out, went head first, didn't really care about anything like that, and just thought that I could do it my way. And it landed me in jail, and I was facing, like I said, 26 and a half years. And at 34 years old, and I'm sitting behind glass, and I'm looking at my son and my daughters, and you know, it really did something to me, because I said to myself, they'll never see me again. They'll never see me again. And I started doing a self-inventory, and I started, you know, looking into my life and some of the things and some of the choices that I could have done differently. I started looking into my life at a lot of the challenges that I went through at the time and the decisions that I made from those challenges. And I had to reevaluate all that. And I made a promise. I made a dedication. I said, if you open up those doors, God, you will never have to worry about seeing me again. You know, I will allow you to order my footsteps. You can direct my life. And since, 2014, I have not been back. I have been an activist in the Durham community for people who have been locked up before, because I know the struggles. You know, even after I got out, I remember going applying for several jobs. I want to say close to 100 jobs, and nobody would hire me. So what I had to do, I could either go back to what I knew or do something else. God had gave me a gift of cooking. And my Uncle Cece, he owned the pit downtown. And he wound up selling it. But he taught me a lot, you know, smoking foods and you know, cooking on the grill. So being that I couldn't find a job, I had to find some type of income. I have a son, 2 daughters. I have to do something. But I made a promise. I'm not going back to what I knew. So what I did was I started holding plate sales. And I would, hustle off of Instagram and Facebook. I would just network, post videos, what I'm cooking for that day. And people would come support. People would come support, but they would also think that, nah, Koo's still doing something else. So I had a lot of the trap boys, they would come up out there and they would come buy plates from me, and they would think that I'm still hustling. But I had to break it down to them nah, this is it. This is it. I want to be free for my children. I want to be out here. And before I knew it, I was ministering to people. I was telling other individuals who walked the same path as I did that you can do something different. And I wasn't just telling them that, I was a standing model of that. So 2016 was my break. For 2 years, all I did was plate sales. I couldn't find a job anywhere. 2016, I did an event for free. And I would never think that this event would change my life. It was called the Moja 2016 Salute. My homie Akili Hester. Moja stands for unity. And he kicked off this cookout, public speaking. He had a couple of people speak, and it was in MacDougall Terrace. And when I went up out there and I cooked, like I said, I did it for free. First time ever doing an event for free, because I knew that I really needed money, but something in me just told me to do it for free. But while I was doing it, it was some small kids, like around 8, 9 years old, who just wanted to watch me cook, and they sat on the back of the truck. And before I knew it, I got to talking to them. And while I was talking to him, I was introduced to a project manager at the county of Durham for a program called Bull City United. Bull City United is a group of ex-gang members, ex-offenders, who work hands-on with individuals in the community to try to divert them from using gun violence. When I was introduced to her, she had told me, I want you to come by the office and maybe we might have a job opportunity for you. And I really didn't think nothing of it. I just continued to cook and finished up, wrapped up. And I made it there though, at the time when she told me to be there. And when I made it there, luckily I got the job. And I'm still a volunteer. I'm not employed by Bull City United, but I'm still a member. I'm still a violence interrupter, and I'm an outreach coordinator for Bull City United. After that job, I went to the city of Durham, where I work now. And I am a community outreach coordinator. I'm also a soundboard in the office for ideas, how we're structuring programs. We have a lot of good things going on at the city of Durham, where we're trying to help individuals like myself. I volunteer 1 to 2 days up out of the week, and I go to the jail and I talk to those guys, because I know how important it is to have words of encouragement. And some guys are ready to give up on themselves, because at one point in time when I was in there and I was facing all that time, I can say I really did. But I'm saying all that to say this: just like the book Westmore that you all have been reading, is 2 separate paths that you can go down. And you have to grab a hold to the right path and stay on it. You have to protect your eye gates and your ear gates. Everything that looks good and sounds good isn't good for you. A lot of the stuff that they play on the radio, you know what I mean, in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, I really don't understand it. But it's about programming. And you don't want to be programmed. You don't want to be programmed to fall victim to this systematic system that they already have in place to take you from school to prison pipeline, And for the ones who are here who are saying to themselves, and I know there's some that, hey, I'll never be locked up, I'm never going to do any time. I'm here to say, don't frown upon those who are. embrace those people. Try to help them make it over that hump if they do go down that road. But before that, do everything to help each other not go down that road and to be a positive reflection on the community. We can't do this alone. It takes everybody as a whole to work together and really just embrace the right way of life. And yeah, just don't give up. Keep your faith. Understand that that there are oppositions out here that are against you, but you have to prevail, and you can prevail. So support your brothers and sisters. A lot of the young black men in here, I feel like I'm speaking to you all more so than anyone else, not excluding anyone else, but I was once you. I was once that same young black man, and I would have never thought that I would have to go to prison and go through all these things. And for you all, I don't want you all to have to go through it because we are targeted. It says it. We did this thing called Amnesty Day. It was a project earlier this year, and the numbers are staggering. For every 7,000 black men that are pulled over, only 1,500 white men are pulled over. But we're the minority. They are the majority. Understand that you are held under a microscope. Understand that you have to move strategic and wise and think 5 steps ahead like it's chess. It's 46,000 people in Durham County right now that have a suspended or revoked license. Around 70 to 80% of those individuals are people of color. What does that tell you? That tells you that you are being profiled, you are being racially profiled. So just be wise and make the right moves, you know. And like I said, protect your ear gates and your eye gates. You know, listening to that music and all that all the time isn't healthy for you. You know, watching the fights and stuff on YouTube and on Instagram is not healthy for you. Love and hip hop, all that, it's not healthy for you. That's not reality TV. They're programming individuals to live and act a certain way. We have to do something different. So with that, I just wanted to thank you all for letting me come. Make the right choices. When challenges come up that you feel like you can't get over yourself, it's cool to ask for help. I always thought that I could do everything on my own, but I can't. Open up, ask for help in the situation where you have those challenges. And I thank you all for letting me speak.
All right, thank you all for being attentive, and I hope that you think about the decisions that Chuck has made and think about how that impacts even you guys today. Does anyone have, I think we have time for maybe 2 questions. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask Mr. Manning?
Was your son a DN at Riverside?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Chuck Manning Jr.?
Chuck Manning Jr. Yes.
How many years were you behind bars?
In total, 6.5.
Is your job fun?
Yes, I love my job. I love it. I think the best thing about my job is that I'm actually doing something that's making a difference, and I'm helping individuals that remind me of myself and that are just like me.
Okay, so in our book, at the end when the 2 Wesses are talking, the conversation sort of, how did I get here and you didn't? And the other Westmore, the one behind bars, talked about expectations. He felt the expectations placed on him put him in jail. Do you feel some of those early expectations of yourself, even though you acknowledge you made some wrong decisions, do you think expectations of others placed on you helped you take the wrong path?
I would say yes.
Can you expand on that?
I had high expectations from a lot of the staff at the school, also family members, and it left me in a kind of weird spot because I didn't even have those expectations on myself. I knew that I wasn't a dummy or a fool. I knew I was very intelligent. But at the same time, those expectations were not tangible for me, I think, at the time.
Any other questions?
How old is your son?
My son is 18 years old now. And just to elaborate on that a little bit more before the other question, back to what I was saying about banking on your brain, he has a full ride. He doesn't have to pay for his dorm room. He doesn't have to pay for food. He gets a stipend every 4 months. That's money in the bank and a brand new car. That's what I mean by banking on your brain. He was able to keep his grades at an A and a B since the sixth grade at Carrington, and it paid off for him. He graduated summa cum laude from Riverside, and now I'm just so proud of him. I can't even express it in the words. So to you all too, you all can do the exact same thing.
Did you ever think you were going to be a cook to make money?
No. The first, when I was still in the streets and stuff like that, the first business I had was Country Boy Entertainment. I used to promote parties. After that, I wanted to start a t-shirt line, and it was called Knowledge T-Shirts and Apparel. I knew I could cook. I just never thought that I would be able to make money from it. So now I'm looking to, for the future, eventually having a restaurant, eventually, food truck, different things like that. So.
How do you think you would act differently if you did have a dad?
Excuse me? I think it would have been tremendously different. Because when you're at a young age, you have to understand, I know a lot of the younger kids probably know this slang. I jumped off the porch rather early, meaning I got into the wrong type of lifestyle at a very young age, around 12 years old. And I know how I was with my son around that age and before that age. It was so much stuff that I was able to pour into him that I didn't receive when I was that age. And that's how I not only feel, but I know that my life would have turned out a whole lot better if I would have had an active father in my household. But I can't use that for an excuse. Because you still have a support system. If you don't have a dad in your house, you look towards that positive role model that's somewhere around you in your family or in your neighborhood. I was raised by the wrong type of guys in my neighborhood, and I look towards them for guidance, and I look towards them for knowledge, when all they wanted me to do was just sell a pack and bring the money back to them. And that's not what it's about. It's about being transparent and being a genuine person So look for those individuals who are transparent and who are genuine and who are standing model of positivity in your community and gravitate towards them. Not the hot boys, not the D boys, not the dudes who trying to rap. Everybody and their mama rap now. Like, look towards somebody who's doing something positive in the community and grab a hold to them and don't let go.
All right, so let's give it up one more time for Mr. Manning. So again, I think there's a lot that you can think about later this week. You'll be doing a simulation where you are going to take on a personality of someone who's just come out of prison. So you are going to feel the challenges that it comes out when you have $50 in your bank account and you've got to pay up to $400 right when you come out. You got to pay for your bus passes. You're going to kind of do a simulation to figure that out. So think about Mr. Manning's experiences as you do that, Wes Moore's experience as you do that as well. So again, thank you for being attentive. If you can now stay silent, look to your teachers for the way that you will dismiss, and have a great day.
Thank you all. Yeah.